3 months in with the Vanquish, and being hopeless, I've not produced any content with it. We need to fix that, and that's what today is about. So what's the story with this one? Right, basically if you go back to last year, I had a V8 Vantage S which I bought in June 2017. Didn't spend much time in it. Brilliant car, loved it to bits. Essentially, when the Beast from the East Storm came about earlier this year, the Vantage had just gone in for its service. I'd been looking for a V12 of some sort, be it Vantage, Vanquish, not so much DB9. DB11s I'm quite keen on, and essentially the Vantage went in for a service and I came out with a Vanquish. Aston Martin Bristol have been brilliant throughout. I got the Vantage through them, got the Vanquish through them. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So why would you jump from a V8 Vantage to a V12 Vanquish? One's a sports car, one's a GT car. For me, I wanted something more comfortable, something a bit faster, something with more noise, which this certainly has. The confusion for a lot of people is, why would you go from sports car to GT if you're into sports cars? The Vanquish can pull off a neat trick which very few other GT cars can. You can treat it like a sports car. It is almost as agile as a Vantage, quicker than the Vantage in V8 form, and everything else, it just feels like a slightly bigger version. The car wraps around you when you're pushing on, unlike most GT cars do. Certainly compared to the DB11, which I've driven 2 or 3 V12 variants of, it feels a smaller car. It's physically not that different, it's about the same length, it's slightly narrower, but on the road you can place the car very well. The steering in particular is quite good. Still hydraulic steering rack on these, so you know you're connected to the front wheels. You know exactly what's going on under you. Comfort and luxury you get, it does come with a small weight penalty. Admittedly, not massively heavier than the V8 Vantage, courtesy of a carbon fibre body. If you think the whole car is carbon, there's no. You have a few cars where they've got a carbon roof or a carbon bonnet. Every panel you see is all carbon fibre. Now, back in 2012, when this was new, it was the first time Aston had really gone down the carbon route. This car was more of a mainstream version of a 177 in many ways. A lot of the interior design cues are pinched from a 177. The steering wheel, which isn't to everyone's taste, I quite like the thing. Okay, so spec wise with this here Vanquish, they all came very well spec'd anyway from the factory. The paint is meteorite silver, same as I had on the Vantage. The interior, winter wheat, which is a fairly rare colour for most Astons really. You don't see it a lot, certainly on a Vanquish. Most Vanquishes either had obsidian black or some of the greys, things like that. So it's quite rare to have a kind of cream interior. I think it quite suits it. I've never been crazy about cream interiors on cars, but this one kind of works. Okay, so if you're a kid and you're watching Bond films, you see DB5s with machine guns and ejector seats, and it has a bit of an influence on you, and you have to have one of those when you grow up and become an adult. The problem is you never really become an adult. So instead of doing sensible things like buy a house, you end up getting into Aston Martin ownership. So this is my second. The next one, I've made no secret, I want a DBS, and George, if you're watching this, yes, it will happen one day at some point, next year or the following year. We'll try, fingers crossed, lottery win, maybe, that's what it needs. But anyway, back to this car. It's awesome, really. Everywhere you go it gets a good reception. The noise it makes, the looks, it's wonderful. It's difficult to describe, so we need to go for a drive. So cue some fancy music and some driving.